What's going on, guys? It's Adam P and welcome back to Newcastle United News. It has certainly been a good international break for Newcastle United. That man there scored again yesterday. 2 goals, 1 assist in 130 minutes of game time, of course, for DR Congo. And it's a match where I think Wissa has earned the opportunity to start against Wolves on Saturday. I'm looking forward to seeing what him and what the rest of our brand new signings have to offer to our team, because he's impressed me a lot. I think a lot of players during his entire international break has impressed me a lot, and we'll get through them one by one. But I just wanted to start off by dedicating the first part of this video to Johan Wissa, because I tell you what, for not actually having any game time and not being able to play at all during the summer break, he's kicked off well for Newcastle and certainly I'm looking forward to see him wearing that number 9 shirt, because I think he's earned the opportunity. He's earned the opportunity to play against Wolves, and I can't wait to see him play. There was an injury scare being reported by a couple of Newcastle fan pages out there, but from watching the video back, he's just limping up the football pitch. I think he's just tired, might have cramps in him. I don't think there's anything currently to suggest that Johan Wissa will miss any game time for Newcastle. My indication and my personal opinion is that he's fine. I think he'll be fine for Newcastle. I woke up this morning, I've looked at social media, and there's no news at all about this. So currently, so far, there is nothing to indicate that Johan Wissa is actually injured. But I just wanted to let you know about that just in case you haven't seen it already. Of course, if you're new around here, make sure to get down there and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the Wolves game, so you don't miss the Barcelona content next Thursday. And I can't believe, just like that, Champions League football is back at St James's Park. But here we are. And I wanted to get through the Barcelona game now. I wanted to talk through the match itself and talk through the ticket structure behind the game and how supporters have been able to get tickets, because there's been a lot of people contacting the Newcastle United supporters trust page going into detail about how a school in Dundee, of course all the way up in Scotland, actually got 45 tickets for the Barcelona game. So when they actually show the email on the screen, it goes into detail how the children are able to go to the game. So you get, of course, coach there, coach back, you get your overnight stay, you get your ticket, and it comes up to £295. And I have to say, for a child going to a game against Barcelona in the Champions League, I feel like the overall package is actually not that bad. I would probably do that myself if I was up there in Dundee. But of course, in Newcastle United point of view, supporters are furious and fuming over social media. There's been a massive meltdown amongst our fan base of how schools in Scotland have been able to get tickets over Newcastle fans, who you're talking over 110,000 people waiting on a ballot yesterday just to have a slimmer of a chance to be able to try and get a ticket to go to Barcelona. Just like every football club, Newcastle United is a club that is inclusive. They offer the opportunity to allow fans all over from different schools to have the chance to go to St James's Park. And I feel like it's quite a subjective topic to talk about, because if you are from Dundee, for example, of course you're going to be saying, well, these fans should be able to go to Newcastle. If you are someone who is unable to get a ticket to St James's Park, you're going to be fuming and going, well, I want a chance to go. How did they get it going? It depends on where you're from and where you come from. But in my personal opinion, I feel like it should be dependent on the fixture. Now, this school has always had opportunities alongside our schools throughout history. You're talking before the takeover, after the takeover, they've always had a chance to go to St James's Park, and I'm going to assume random allocated fixtures. But for me, especially of a game of a magnitude of Barcelona, you're talking one of the biggest possible home games in my lifetime. I feel like the tickets should be going to more local schools, and people might not like me saying that, and the point of this video is not to upset anyone, but for me, in my personal opinion, for huge fixtures, I feel like the local schools should have the priority over that, and then that Dundee school or different school should get an opportunity to go to a different game. That's just how I personally say it. That school in Dundee is also a private school, by the way. It's not a free education system. You're talking upwards of £15,000 to £20,000 a year for that child to be able to go to the school. So when you look at Newcastle being an inclusive football club, it's not inclusive, because you can't just go to this school. You have to be incredibly wealthy. Of course, the children aren't getting £20,000. They have to come from a healthy and wealthy background to be able to even have the opportunity to go to that school. So the fact that they're the ones in Dundee that are being offered the chance to go to St James's Park, and not a free school where it's anyone in Dundee that's able to have the opportunity to go to a football game. You have to be from quite a wealthy background, and I would argue for Newcastle being such an inclusive and such a welcoming football club to everyone, it's actually not been welcome here because you have to be of an incredibly rich background to be able to even have a chance of going to a Newcastle game if you are from Dundee. Maybe the 45 tickets are actually going to 45 Newcastle fans. Maybe we have a huge fan base in Dundee. I personally don't know. But realistically, when I look at it, it's probably going to be a few Newcastle fans. It's going to be loads of, I guess, football fans that just want to come and watch Barcelona play and not really that bored about Newcastle playing. And I would argue that would perhaps damage the atmosphere a little bit. So, again, for me, in my personal opinion, if I had it my way, if I could choose where to go, I feel like local schools and schools around Newcastle should be getting the bigger fixtures, and then for lesser games and different games, I feel like you should then open it up to try and build a bigger fan base. But again, I'm just giving my personal opinion. So some of you may disagree with that. I'm sorry if you feel that way, but yeah, I can understand why Newcastle fans would be quite annoyed by that, especially if you were someone, for example, who has a child who's quite dependent on getting these opportunities at schools to be able to go to the game. So it depends on what side of the fence you sit on, but let me know down in the comment section. Do you think Newcastle should be doing that, especially for a game of a magnitude like Barcelona? And I always feel like the sad part about addressing this sort of thing in videos and going through this in detail is always just the fact that no matter what happens, you always got supporters that are upset and supporters that aren't able to go to St James's Park. And it, of course, reinforces the obvious point. Get that new stadium sorted out, get that brand new, hopefully bigger than 70,000 stadium, get it all there so supporters can go to the game as well. Newcastle, again, will need to try and keep the ticket demand there. I think it is important to get as many people there as possible because Newcastle every single week is losing money because we easily could have an extra 20,000 people in for these bigger games, maybe even going higher. Barcelona, for example, you probably could have got 100,000 for a game of that magnitude. But Newcastle being unable to have more than 52,000 seats, unfortunately, costs us money. And on a negative side, also bumps the prices up as well. You mentioned hospitality packages yesterday. You're talking £1,100 just to go to Barcelona. And that's coming from someone in the hospitality. Now, for me, for example, of course, regular season ticket holder, I sit around level 4. So seats are pretty about middle range in price. Champions League games this season, I think it was £280 for just all 4 of the games. So that's been bumped up from what would have been, I think, £65 per game last time. Your ticket prices are going to continue to go up. We live in a country and we live in a market where inflation will go up, prices will go up naturally as people's minimum wage goes up. It's something that naturally and organically does happen in all lines of work anyway. But for Newcastle, the prices are mental. There was a ridiculous amount of merchandise out there. The prices continue to soar up, and people are being priced out of going to these games. So it's always quite a tricky balance again because Newcastle needs to maximise profit, so then they can be able to grow the revenue up. And then, of course, long term, put that money into getting players, put that money into being a better football club, and put that money into being able to attract new sponsorships that are going to come in. It's something where I wouldn't just say it's a Newcastle thing, but I feel like over the past few years, in my personal opinion, now I go to every single Newcastle game, I go to all these different football stadiums, I see what all these different football clubs have to offer. And ever since lockdown, I feel like when it's been lifted, I don't think the atmosphere has been the same. I think hospitality is littered everywhere now. I'm not just exaggerating. I honestly think hospitality packages, they are everywhere inside football stadiums. I think the atmosphere is terrible. I think the money is expensive. I just feel like the overall vibes are going to the games. And I would say this towards Newcastle as well. I don't think Newcastle's away ends and Newcastle's home ends outside of the huge games, I don't think they're being as good as they were a few years ago now. I think there's some argument against that as well, because during the Mike Ashley years and during the pre-takeaway years, Newcastle was so crap that when we scored a goal, we all went mental because there would generally be a lot of games and Newcastle did not score a goal. Whereas now, Newcastle, you would expect them to score a goal every single game. I know I'm saying that and we haven't scored in 2 of our opening 3 games, but with a striker, you would have to assume Newcastle will score most likely every single game. So when you look at a game and when you celebrate a goal, the celebration's not as raw anymore because you expect the team to score, whereas when we were crap, you weren't expecting them to score. So when we do score, you all go mental because, you know, it's a big moment for us and those 3 points back then would have been crucial survival points, whereas the 3 points now are, I guess, crucial Champions League points, but also expected points, if that makes any sense. So it's always a balance to look at. And I just feel like this overall hospitality and this corporate side of football, and I feel like this money side of football where you got thousands of pounds just being put down every single match. You got caviar, you got your dinner, you're getting all your nice drinks, you're getting suited up to go to a football game. I just think this corporate and hospitality side of football is just horrible. I just think this entire Premier League corporate thing is just truly killing the atmosphere. And I think for Newcastle as well, you need to try and have that balance because you don't want to lose what we've had. Newcastle, I feel like, in my personal opinion, in terms of home ends, I think we are the best. I think we were the best a few years ago, and you don't want to lose that edge that we have. Players and teams in the top obviously say at St James's Park it's such a horrible place to play because of how raw and how energetic and how aggressive and boisterous the crowd is. So you don't ever want to lose that, and that's one thing I'm always quite passionate and quite vocal towards. But of course, speaking about the local lads, let's speak about Elliot Anderson again, because this is a player who has continued to impress, and I feel like, especially for him, everyone's catching on to him now. I think opposition fans, I think everyone is now talking about this guy and realising how good of a midfielder Elliot Anderson is. And Forest fans seem to be quite clear that he would never ever come to Newcastle. I'm sorry to break your bubble. I'm going to be honest. I'm sorry to break that bubble. But this is the same lad who is Newcastle, born and bred, through and through, Ashington lad. This is also a lad, by the way, who was actually at Wembley, celebrating in the crowd with his dad. He's there, taking the moment in. I'm telling you now, in a heartbeat, he would be back in Newcastle later. Forest fans, for whatever reason, are starting to take little pop shots at Newcastle because they have Elliot Anderson. Well, listen, we had PSR problems. You had PSR problems. We helped you. You helped us. You got a fantastic player and we got a crappy goalkeeper. So, yeah, you guys definitely get the better at the situation. But I'm telling you now, in a moment's notice, he gets a chance to come back to Newcastle. He will take it. And I can't wait to see what is hopefully going to be a reality. Because when I look at Elliot Anderson, I still stand by selling him at the time was the correct thing to do. I don't think he's that player now if he's still at Newcastle. So in football, if you've got a player here who is unable to play, who we won't play because we've got better players ahead of him, he has to be able to grow out, has to be able to develop, it has to be able to get the week in, week out experience, and has to be able to grow his own wings, and then he can come back into the forward. I think that's exactly what Newcastle need to do at the time. Yeah, I wish things were different in this PSR. I think losing him and Minter, both players who ironically are both class now. So when Newcastle has sought players at the time that we needed to do to avoid a points reduction, it just hurt seeing Anderson not at Newcastle. Of course it is. I would love nothing more than to see the local lad playing for Newcastle and having these moments with us. But it is what it is. We'll move on. We'll sort it out. And I think he's back in black and white one day. I fully stand by. I think we get Elliot Anderson back. But I just wanted to again address him because he certainly had an international break to remember. He's been non-stop and he's been very, very impressive. So fair play to him. But that's about it from this video. Just mainly going into the ticket and side. As much as I don't want to talk at this corporate hospitality thing we've got going on in football, honestly, I've never been more glad in my life to just be so loyal to Newcastle and had this season ticket going for 15 years now. I used to go in a friends group back around 2013, 2014. I used to go with about 12 people, and every single season it got smaller and smaller and smaller. Believe it or not, I'm the last one. All of them haven't got the season tickets anymore. So, yeah, I'm quite glad I've always stuck with Newcastle, and I'm glad that I've got my season ticket now because all this balloting ticket hospitality thing, it's giving me a headache and I don't even use it. Let me know your opinions down below this entire thing. If you are someone who's a Mags Plus member, if you are someone who uses the ballot or gets hospitality packages, what do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'd love to hear what Newcastle should be doing to improve, because I can understand the anger on social media, and I always don't like looking at the negative side of social media. I never tend to like looking at what's going on in Newcastle now. But in these kind of videos, we go through all topics. We go through all the good, all the bad. We go through everything because we want to be transparent. We want to make you guys fully aware of everything that is going on inside our football club, whether that be good or bad. So that's how it is over here. That's what we get into. But let me know your opinions on the Dundee stuff. Do you feel like a school in Dundee should be getting 45 tickets to the game against Barcelona? Let me know your opinion. Take care, and we will see you all in the next one.